Hello to my wonderful listeners. One Family TV wala mutanale nan kotenke. Mbadi ngolu ikafu meye ko Usman Sonko. Meya lonko ala kitiyo ni betenten kande. Meya lonko wala mu Swiss banko nin kantide. Bari mbadi ngolu modol beje menya lonko idia mutade. Musi nondo beje ikafu meye ko Fatoumata Jawara. Ate fanan dia mutade mbadi ngolu de. Katandi ko kodol kedatela meya lonko wala keta 2016 ninti meya lonko wala keta April 16 ninna de mbadi ngolu de. Meya lonko kodol ketala meya lonko wala keta wato ninade bari Usman Sonko ate fanan diamuta ka tandiko wolu mu molleti me yalonko oda botanan dulalto mato me yalonko ate mu interior ministry me yalonko wala keta former president Yaya Jammeh wala oda diwla pour ka wolta me yalonko kadolta ke muta ke tajirante yade woto bari mbadi ngolu annani musindi ngola mo me yalonko wala mu Fatoumata Jawarati atandi wato me yalonko kodol me yalonko wala keta tela o wato ninade mbadi kabiri ye mutade woto mbadi ngolu na lamoy anin hakilola nkana alamoy anin juso.
Sometimes I feel itching of the area of the wound. Sometimes the internal part pains me. Sometimes when the pain started again from my neck up to my waist, I don't sleep at night. Sometimes one of my leg gets limp even if I stand for some time. All of those things are still troubling me. If I sit down also for a long time, I feel some pain. Sometimes it's very difficult for me. But with the help of Allah, I'm still taking medication time to time. Sometimes ago, maybe 2 months ago, I was admitted at the main hospital in Banjul on 2 occasions. If I leave the hospital, I continue to look for medication.
Just to help us get a picture of the injuries of the 3 of you when you were put into the other separate room. I understand you said that you were semi-conscious then. But you did clearly recognize Fatu Kamara there. And you also saw Nogoy there. Can you please tell us the injuries that they had on their bodies while you were in that room?
I came to see their wounds while we were together at the hospital. Fat Kamara, she had a wound at her hand, and also the body was also injured. Because at that time we were all discharging blood. Nogoi too, one of our fingers was broken. One of our toes also, she said after they questioned her until they were tired, she said that the one that was interrogating her stepped on her toe with his boot, and it broke.
She had to tie up her toenail in a cloth until the day they were released from the hospital. And some of the nerves around her eyes were also infected. She keeps on begging them, help me to heal my eyes before I leave this place. Fat Kamara becomes annoyed sometimes and tells her, you don't think properly. All the things these people did to you, so you are thinking of getting healed here. Because at that time, Sheikh Omar was fooling them, telling them that if you get well, you will be released. And Nogoy used to say that she will feel ashamed to go out with those wounds on her face, especially she doesn't want people who are in the other parties to see her like that. Se Omar langani yo momenti wole mnyinti furuntolo ngatano court bari court ya fole ko ngata court bari mbukata mano mbuka fenkeno wala tinna mbukata.
Se Omar's intention was to see that we went to court because the court wanted us to appear, but at that time we could not walk, we could not do anything, so we couldn't go to the court. But the pressure that was on him, that was what was the reason why he used to encourage us to strengthen us so that we could heal quickly.
How long did you spend at the NIA before being taken to the hospital?
Kabirin toldunta NIA singona na manfinti banta loptano nyi mubungolti membe NIA konoje.
Since we got into the NIA, we never came out. The hospital that we went to was inside the NIA.
Soon after the beating, how long did it take you for you to be treated?
Birinli paro botala. Ay wati jelleta janniba la jara roda mutala. Ntanga menkala muta what
I recall, on that hospital bed, we had 9 days there. One of their security chiefs came. I think his name is James. He said that they should remove us and take us to Badinka.
You did tell us that from the other room, the three of you were packed into another room. I just wanted to know how long it took before they attended to your wounds while you were in that room.
I was not in control of my faculties at the time, but Nogoy said that. They said she said they were just sitting and then they noticed that I fell. So she said she did all she could, but nothing could happen, and then that was the time she screamed. They came and I think they wanted to give me water, but she said to them, leave her alone. Do you want to kill her? It was after that Nogoy said these things to me while we were at the hospital, because at the time Fatou Camara was also experiencing what I was going through.
While you were in that room, were you given any food?
At
that room was downstairs. When they beat us, they just threw us there, so I don't know what happened there.
Will I be correct to say that from the time they pulled you out of the second interrogation room, you were unconscious till the time you went to the hospital within the NIA itself?
Kabrin wato me yali fintindi bundo kono ya lundi jana wa munta utumo imam boy fankala made hanfo wato men yali samba ena ewla loptano to je nogo yemi mfonya ko mbenu njele fotili saba manyayele.
What Nogoy said to me was that I was there for 3 days and I did not open my eyes.
For 3 days you were unconscious. And during that 3 days, Did they administer any medicine to you? That is, if you know.
What I came to know was what they used to pump into people. Because they said they were going to inject me, but I refused. But given the way that my body was swollen, there was something that they used to spray on me so that that could diminish the pain.
You also told us that you were discharging, one of your injuries was the discharge of blood. When did that start?
Well, what I came to know is that I was bleeding outside, externally, but also I realized that I was urinating blood.
When did you start urinating blood?
What you malo ya damuta ka yelo jalamuta.
Biring be woloptano to wodron ne katukelana fonna ta mile 2 kata fukari jama.
At the time that I was in that hospital, that was what was happened to me before I went to mile 2, and that continued for several months.
Let me just recap what you said so that you can confirm it.
Akombarnga amuru akan domandinka saiko dolu kan fo isa bambandi sikumo nyimbambandi.
After your interrogation before the panel,
biring alibota panelo nyatilungula yali nyininka daming.
You were taken into a room,
yali samba bungo do kono,
blindfolded, and you were not aware of anything that happened in that room. From then on, you were unconscious for 3 days. It was later you found yourself in the hospital. Is that a correct narrative of what happened?
I was not fully conscious, but when I hear some voices, I can understand what was said.
Can you tell us where that hospital was located in the NIA premises?
I've never been to the NIA until that night that I was taken in. And those that took me, I was in their middle, and they were close by me. You could not even raise your head. But as we were going, in my own thinking, the hospital would be within the middle of the NIA complex.
At that hospital, who attended to you? Can you recall who?
The
doctors that were there at the hospital, one of them's name is Fatou Dabo and Lamin Langsanyang. There is also one girl, they call her Saroba. She too is an NIA officer, but she was at the School of Nursing.
At the hospital, did the doctors tell you the cause of your bleeding?
The doctor that was attending me was Lamin Langsanyang. When you tell him what was paining you on the prescription, he will just write body pain. And so they will go and buy that.
But
these two women, Fadabo and Saroba, but they showed me their intentions and all their efforts. They did all of that very well.
Saroba,
because she was from Kanilai, in my thinking, probably she did not want to say exactly what the situation was.
But the
intention and the efforts that she did for me during the course of our work, I have seen that. And Fatu Dabo too is the same. But in that hospital, some used to come there. They will never allow them to enter. Because in that hospital, even amongst themselves, they used to hide from each other. Some people are working there, but when you ask them their names, they will give you a different name.
There are some people working there who were working in fear. Because the suspicion was that some of the junglers who were recruited were brought there. And they didn't know what type of work those people were there to do. The junglers used to torture people, and after the torturing, they at the hospital, they just take care of them and try to treat them. And the nurses working at that hospital, just as I said, Fadabo and Sariba were really in fear. But Sanyang does everything with them. Because he's working at the Serekunda General Hospital. But he is also an NIA officer. If the NIA commit any torturing in secret or whatever, he is the guy who takes care of those people to treat them.
As at the time you were at the hospital in the NIA, did you feel any pain when you urinate? Because you mentioned that you do discharge blood when you urinate.
Dimo kanyo mambo ben mpele dron nin dimo le musuto tilimbuka sino mbuka lano mbuka fenkeno.
Well, I was in pain constantly, day and night. Sometimes I don't sleep. I cannot stand, I cannot lie down. I was just in pain continuously.
Molle kanku.
People used to bath me.
Molle ka wulindi.
People take me up to sit down.
As I
said, Nogoy sometimes is the person who used to crawl. But for herself and Fat Camara were all sitting in wheelchairs.
Sitting on a wheelchair, you say, meaning you were not able to walk at that time?
Yes.
For how long were you not able to walk on your own?
The day that we tried and walked a little bit was the day that we heard that we were going to appear in court. That day the police came there to take our statements. In fact, that statement, the manner in which they were given, only God knows. Because it was Sir Omar who escorted us to one room. And then they took our statements. One took Nogoy's, the other took Fatu Kamara's. But if I don't forget, the one who took my own is either Fode Kombosilla
or Lamin
Kombosilla.
Hani sabe do ko la police le.
Up till now, he works with the police.
Adunga statement o nyintale amansila.
And he took this statement without fear.
Akonye ko fengo fenketa alafo.
And he said to me, whatever happened, say it.
Adung metale kanyin kuolu moy.
And we have been hearing these things for a long time.
Eka so.
And we used to deny them.
But alafo nimmembe kala weke.
But say them. Whatever has to happen, let it happen. He encouraged me to say exactly what happened. But I was scared myself. Because Omar was standing over us while they were taking our statements. When we were ready, he returned us back to the hospital.
So you were saying that the police officer that personally took your statement was doing it without any form of fear. And he did it according to what the law says that he should do. Is that correct?
He did it that way. And that was not the end of it. When we were taken to Makati, they brought one man. Some changed their statement. They said they took other people's statements in mile 2. When in essence they were taken at the NIA. But this man stood and said that they took my statement at the NIA. That was the time when I think the State Council, he asked him, how could you say that? Do you know Fatu Jawara? He said to the State Council, if you want, I could go until I hold her by the hand. He wanted to come down. They said to him, no, leave it.
You've told us that you spent about 9 days at the hospital that is at the NIA. After spending those 9 days at the hospital, what happened to you next?
After that, they removed me and took me to Badinka.
Can you please describe this Badinka you're talking about?
Badinka
is a place where you open several doors, cell doors before you eventually get in there. And once you get inside there, you are not able to hear anything. The time when we used to hear noise,
that happens only when they come and jump in there and say, here is your food, and they provide us with $25 for our food. If you want, you can go and buy water or a drink or whatever you want to buy.
During the time you were at the NIA, did you have any visitors from outside?
Honey?
No.
The $25 that they were giving you for lunch, where did they expect you to buy the food from?
When they come, they just tell you the news that this is the amount of the money available. Then they will put it together and go and buy food and bring it for you. If you say you want water, they will also buy water.
So the $25 being given to you is personally from the NIA coffers, correct?
Amunta yo muwani lulo me kafale amunta o kak bonang NIA fongola kodole kono.
Ha.
Yes.
The Badinka cell you're referring to?
Aye Badinka cell o menfonya.
Were you the only one that was put inside the cell, or did your other colleagues join you there?
Ye damanne sambaje fo ininyin kafunyo dolu ya albele samba nyolaje.
Badinka ni nogoy ni Fat Camara bibe nyokan.
I, with Fatou Camara and Nogoi, we are in Badinka together.
Can you please describe the interior of the cell?
Badinka cell kono abenya menuje Kenya fo nyembang.
Ye sponchole landi je dron.
There was only a sponge, and that is where we used to lie on. There is also one hole, which is the restroom. That is where we used to take care of our personal hygiene and also to perform ablution.
What was the proximity between the toilet and where you were lying down?
Keno membe o jong kongoning alla la dulate ma keno be nyaadi la jam fatal fo dum be nyobala
keno nin doya kala comme jong kon bunda felen tol be larin jam.
The space was small, just like this is where the restroom was, and we used to lie here.
Did the place have any ventilation?
Jedun dinkirabi jele bang fonyo kadun nonan damen.
Honey?
No.
How did it feel being in that tight spot where the toilet is not far from where you lie down?
Woto dum be nyaadi le wairi jonkongo be je bala je be detering albelari wo dinkira klingoto.
Ngatara nyame ngamuta wala nyama.
Well, we just took it the way we found it.
Can you please describe the smell of that particular place?
Wo dinkira je sun kango be nu nyaadi le afonye.
Yala wodula mudula lelti dame yalo ikamolel dundije.
You know, that is the place where people used to be taken into.
Adun jama mo mantora ringol kadunje.
And most of the time, it's only people that have been eaten that used to be taken there. They've never come to change the bed sheet or anything. Or to say that there is anything by way of personal hygiene which we could use at the toilet. We were in that situation just like that. And that was where we were taken from to the court when our health began to improve.
How did you come to know that that is the place referred to as Badinka?
Yalo nyadile o dinkira e kafojele Badinka.
Ngamirale mbota min kono anina tan dundi damen to nana man seloje mimbe ko.
I thought about where we were from and where we were, and I have never seen a cell like that. Because you opened several doors before you eventually got there. That was why when we got there, I came to the conclusion that this is Badinka.
Can you recall how many days you spent in that cell?
I cannot recall, but we spent a considerable time there.
You were arrested on the 14th of April 2016, right?
April 2016 for Walembang.
Yes.
On that very day, you were taken to Mile 2 prisons, correct?
Yes.
On the day you arrived at mile 2, that very night you were taken to the NIA premises, correct? After you arrived at the NIA, you were tortured on that very day, correct?
Yes.
Yes.
You were also taken before the panel on that day, correct?
It could be the second day because at that time, it was not yet daylight, but we were almost at the tail end of the day.
After the panel, that's when you were taken into the other room where you were unconscious for 3 days.
Ako panelo kola lo mi yal samba ubundo kono damin imam boy fankala ma han fo tilisaba.
Hani se Omar yen silandi bungo men kono birim bota woto le natam mfay nyim bundo kono ngafat kamara nyol tara wolto.
No, it was where Se Omar threatened me in that room, and it was after they took us from there that they threw me in this room where I met Fatou Kamara and Nogoy.
So already before then you had spent about a week at the NIA premises.
Andu janni wo bekela amonda wayatra le ale lokumu bang NIA la dinkirado.
Janni mu bekela.
Before you were taken to the hospital, you had spent about a week at the NIA, correct?
Hani butero subalem birim fano keta tilo la pinto wato wato le biriajen be ale halo mentena talande loptan.
It was the morning after the beatings, just as the sun was rising. I think after they saw the condition of our bodies, that was when they took us to the hospital.
So all in all, calculating that you said you spent about 9 days at the hospital?
Amunta beka bring kafringu nyoma amunta aliye tilikononto leke o loptano.
Malum fasi wasino wala da sabarinta la kontiroto dal ngamera ngatili kononto leke jenatan samba bamba dinka.
I am not sure. It could be 9 days or even less than that, but in my own estimation it was 9 days, and it was after that that we were taken to Bambadinka.
So after you were released and taken to court, can you tell us what happened?
Sayem briyali bula in Atali Samba court afonye munenadage.
When we went to the court during the first hearing,
lawyer left a statement.
The lawyer wanted to take our statements.
Prison official and PIU official bebe sirin kuntole.
The prison officers and the PIU were all sitting with us.
Manna statement odino left nyame.
So we could not give our statement the way we wanted it. And we could not also show our injuries to the lawyer. Court now gave order that we be taken to mile 2. After that was said, they did not listen to them. They instead took us back to the NIA. I think it is almost about 2 times that the court ordered that we be taken to mile 2, but they will never agree. The day that they took us out to mile 2, we were on our own in mile 2. I cannot say that all prison officers are wicked. There were good ones amongst them. Those that we have seen their assistance, and also they also empathize with our situation. But everyone ran away from us. Because people were scared. So we were on our own. When our people come to visit us,
prisoner opportunity men soton tolo soto.
Some of the opportunities that the other prisoners had, we did not have. The time that they used to give them, they don't give us the same amount of time. That was at the first time we were there. And also your family, just as where you are now seated, they will be seated there, and you would be here, and you will be greeting each other, and then they will release them and tell them to go home. And when they leave, then they will take you back to the cell, because they never want to take you inside the cell in the presence of your relatives. And when you are discussing with your family members, the police officers used to sit down and be listening. And they don't even allow you to shake their hands, much more to get close to them.
Sorry for interrupting you. You've already told us that you were married at that time. Did you have any kids?
Yes, at that time I had 3 children.
How old were your children?
8 years, 9.
Well, at that time, my eldest child would be 9 years. My second child
6 years left
was 6 years old.
And
my third child, at that time the child was not yet 4 years old.
Did your children come to visit you while you were at Mile 2 prisons?
Each time my husband comes there, he used to be very sad. He made all attempts. The children used to disturb him that they would want to see me. One day he prepared them, dressed them up, and came to court with them. So when they came that day, the court proceedings did not take place. People came and told me about gave me their information that the situation, the disturbing situation that the children were in, including him. The saddest thing about it was this: the following day he came with the intention of seeing me. He came to see me at the prisons first of all. They said to him that it was time that they were going to the court. He went to the court as well. As he was coming out, he too was arrested. So it means now the children are now in hardship, and he too is in hardship. But there was a lot of talk, a lot of pressure, and he was eventually released.
Do you know for how long he was detained?
He spent 1 day with them. But people were discussing his issue on social media a lot. And they ended up releasing him. But he was dismissed from his work. The children were there. And at that time, I was not engaged in any paid job. All my things were under his control.
Where was he working?
Abedu ko la KMC le.
He worked at the KMC.
And he was dismissed from that job.
Inata bay wodo ko fananto.
Ntebe prison le nga kibaro moy.
I was in prison and I got the information.
Kabringa nyinin ka konyo ko hani wo manke.
And when I confronted him with the information, he said, no, that did not happen. And if I also inquired about the children, he used to tell me that they were okay. But if I asked him to bring them along, the prison rules did not allow for that. So there was difficulty on us on all these sides.
Can you please tell us what eventually led to your release?
Sai safo nunye mulina take hanfo ilabanta na le bulala.
Yo come ngadiamo lo nun damen to janabe do nanke mala ko kono.
Just as I stopped the discussion where she got into the issue of my husband. You were asking me about the difficulties I encountered in prison. Also in the prison, when we request for food, when you have a visit, they will give you your food, you will take into your cell, which you would share with other prisoners. But there is a place where they identified for our relatives that if they should bring food for us, they should place the food there and then depart for home. And that happened after a lot of trial and pressure by the lawyers before that was able to be allowed to happen. I was sitting in the prison and they came and called me and they said, you have a visitor. I was hopeful that perhaps now things will change. I will be able to see my children. But when I came out to answer, they said to me, your food has arrived, it's down there, and they told me the place. At that time, I was at the remand wing. I asked, why was the food not brought inside? They said to me, you are going to eat it there. Then I said to them, then tell them to return with the food. I said to them, where I am just waiting for time. Because I have gone through all kinds of conceivable difficulty. And it is not as if I killed someone, that is why I was brought here. And I have not yet been condemned by law. My food, why is it that even the inmates, their food is brought in, and you say that mine would not come in? And at that time, I was experiencing a lot of pain. I was unable to walk. I said to them, return back the food. At that time, my family members had already returned home. When they realized that the food that they used to bring for me does not usually get to me, and when they asked me in court, I told them. The lawyers got up and made those attempts again. That was when it was allowed for our food to be brought inside, so we could take it to ourselves. But they did not give up. We went to court and returned. I overheard the police discussing amongst themselves that the interior minister said that we be taken to Makati. Within the group, they chose 11 of us, if I can According to what they said, there were some people that were released who accepted some of the terms and conditions that they had set to assure them that we are going to desist from engagement in political affairs, and they did not know anything about what was this issue. According to what I heard in their discussion, they set those ones free and they took us to Makati.
Did they tell you about those terms and conditions prior to those other ones being released?
What happened, they did not tell me, but this was in their mind that we were the masterminds of the whole thing.
So they selected 11 of you out of the lot and sent you to Makati.
Yes.
Can you tell us what happened upon your arrival in Makati?
Makati, despite all the hardship in mile 2, it is still not yet to the level of Makati. Because in mile 2, you could get up and walk around, and you could see 1, 2, or 3 people close to your cell. But in Makati, they took us inside a cell. They gave us a chamber pot where we could release we could attend to our personal needs, and where we perform ablution. All of that we do on that same chamber pot. When you are ready, you pick it up and empty it. We used to spend the night with that pot, and I was there with some elders. When we are ready in the morning, I used to collect it and empty it.
The people that were transported at Makati, how many of you were female?
The 3 of us, the 3 women, all of us went.
That would be yourself, Fatu Kamara, and Nogoy.
Yes.
All 3 of you, were you placed in one cell?
Yes.
Apart from the chamber pot, can you please describe the cell for us?
Kemba poto kola wo fansutura randinkira okola fo selo nyimbe nyadimo selo nyimbe be kotori ne tumbol si jolo ikasilandir fengo be lejije. The cell is so bad that and it's a very old place. You have maggots around and you see a lot of frightening things inside that cell. And the windows were also not good. One day there was an owl which came into the room. Fat Kamara was shouting and reciting a verse from the Quran. We saw her fall down. An officer was called in. I don't know whether his name was Sana. There were many officers there. He is the man who came and took it and threw it out. And also at Makati, gunmen used to stand around that cell. When we are in that small room, yes, there is a parlor where you have the officers and the other people.
jala muto bonna.
If you want to go and empty your kimber pot, even if it is daytime, you have to call them for them to come and open the door, and you go and empty the pot and bring back the pot. You don't go out. That's where you are always. And also, when we are about to go to the hospital, there I have not gone to the hospital. It was Fat Camara who once went to the hospital there. When she was going to the hospital, she went with an escort of 4 men. They were all armed with guns.
And in prison guard.
Plus the prison guards. The following day was the day I was supposed to go to the hospital. They told me. I told them, no, I don't want to go. They said, no, you have to go. I told them my body has improved. At Makati, sometimes even if you are sick, they don't even think of taking you to the hospital. One day, Fat Camara fell down.
Police officer a
police officer took her on his back and went out with her to look for a vehicle. There was no vehicle, but later they tried to take her to Bansang. Nogoi also, the same thing happened to her. They said when Nogoi was in the hospital, whoever she sees, she'll tell them, please tell my people that I am here.
April 14 protester.
My name is Nogo Njai. We are the guys who protested on the 14th of April.
So that
really pained them. They said now if anybody gets sick, they will not take you to the hospital. But the commissioner at Makati was called Bubajata. Every time I hear him warning the officers about the inmates at the prison there. Well, he used to tell them that it is God's decision for these people to be brought here, but be careful of them. He will call them every morning and warn them. And he does the same thing in the evening. But there was one commissioner who is a female. Her name is Anataro. One day,
state doctors
came there to check us. I was explaining. She just told me to stop what I was saying. I told her, you cannot tell me what to say. I told her, whatever I want to say, I'll say it. I told her, well, it is left to them. If they want to cure me or treat me, okay. If they don't want to, let them leave it. After that, Fat Camara also appealed. I will appeal to this woman because she also covers herself like a Muslim woman, so that they will take out the kemba pot from our rooms, so that they will also forgive us to allow us to perform ablution outside. I said to her, don't tell her. She said, no, let me inform her. When she told the lady, what the lady replied to her was that you will remain with this kemba pot there, it is the law. Fat Camara told her that I am under custody. Now you want to take custody of my religion also? Fat Camara said, God will decide between us. I told her, you tell somebody about God who knows about Allah. I told her that the reason which brought you here, or the person who brought you here, will release you when he wants to release you. People committed crimes worse than what we did. Let's leave everything with Allah. That's how we were remaining there.
For how long did you remain at the Makati prison?
Akwali wati jele ke Makati kasolaji.
Meta Makati le.
We spent a long time there.
Nintata court.
When we go to court,
lawyer bukana.
The lawyer doesn't turn up.
Magistrate ola kadia mafaye.
The magistrate just talks by himself.
Ani membetol siri mansa kunda to yala je.
And those representing the government there.
Mendiate yake.
Whatever they feel is doing, that's what they do.
Yeah, adjourn.
And they will adjourn it again.
Ninkata Makati, ninkata Mansa Konko.
When we are going to Mansa Konko,
suto talamfula lenkawuli.
We leave the prison at 2 a.m. And the vehicle wasn't in good condition. If you travel with that vehicle and come back, it looks like that was the day when you were tortured. Every part of your body becomes so painful that you will not know where the pain comes from exactly. That's how we've been going to court and back, and no lawyer came there. Because the lawyers realized that there was not a single iota of truth in what was going on. They decided to march away and leave the court. When we are called and whatever is said, we don't say anything. We don't tell them it is black or white. That's the way we were there until the day they decided to jail us. But all this trial took place up to the end. I see Sheikh Omar there at all the trials. But I have never seen him at Makati. And one called Almame Manga. If they are going to talk between themselves and Allah, I think they will be able to recognize somebody and they'll be able to say something. That's how our things went and that's how it ended at Makati. Nobody was ever allowed to come and visit us or bring food for us.
Who was this Almame Manga you're referring to?
Almame Manga
Police olem.
He was a police officer.
And what was his role?
What on tebe damen ton kombuka alomfong abemen ka denika koyola dungani kurtu black.
At that time, I did not know what was happening. He used to be dressed in a white shirt and
black
trousers.
Hani Makati akanana case no majel.
Even in Makati, he used to come to follow up our case.
Do you know if he was representing the government in that case?
Yes, he came to represent the government.
Can you recall for how long you were detained before you were eventually released?
For how long
we spent more than 8 months.
You were tortured. Your injuries were not properly treated. And you were locked up for 8 months. Can you tell us what the physical impact of that was on you?
Fesa fono nyene wo hadamaya la karola ay mune sabu ite fama.
Women talana baluota siata.
What that did to my life is a lot.
Karado ngakaranta jele.
On one side, I learned from it.
Very bring kole anyimbekiring.
Because at the time that the difficulties were taking place, there were some that stood by me, but there are others also that distanced themselves from me. I heard that even my children, people were trying to distance themselves from them. And they used to say bad things. Up till today, if I recall those things, it used to sadden me. Because I know
it isn't my habit that took me to the prison, not my character.
It was just trouble that came along. And it could also happen to anyone.